Hello, people. Welcome back to another anime review by your good friend, Chad Marco. So this time I went and I watched a anime called Devilman Crybaby. So let me just tell you guys a little bit about what I know of Devilman. So Devilman is actually based on an original manga by Go Nagai, which came out way back in 1972. And I saw the OVA years ago. So because of that, I'm somewhat familiar with the plot, and we're going to get into that later. But the OVA didn't really cover a lot. So watching this was really my first time seeing the story from beginning to end, more or less. Now, I don't know if Devilman Crybaby shows like all the significant story beats of the manga, but it does at least go from like beginning to end of the story, which the OVA didn't. But yeah, I was already somewhat familiar with it going into it. And I'm sure you guys have probably heard of it as well, because, you know, Go Nagai is one of the most accomplished and respected manga artists in Japan. And Devilman is kind of a big name anime. Even if you haven't watched it or read it, you probably heard of it at least one time, and it was very influential. But let's go ahead and get into the plot. So again, this is Devilman Crybaby, which came out in 2018. So it's in a way a remix of the original story. So Devilman Crybaby is about a young high schooler named Akira Fudo. He is shy, weak, awkward, and an all-around unremarkable guy. Yet still he always tries to do the right thing for his friends and family, and is very kind at heart. One day he runs into an old childhood friend named Ryo Asuka, who desperately needs his help. Ryo explains to Akira that while he was on a research trip deep in the Amazon, his professor attacked him and transformed into a demon. He goes on to detail how demons have been occupying the earth well before the time of mankind, and that they survive in secret by merging with humans. He enlists Akira, for whatever reason, to help him record evidence of the demon's existence at a nightclub called the Sabbath, where demons go to possess and merge with humans. At the party, Ryo suddenly begins killing people in order to lure the demons into revealing themselves. His plan works, as not long after, the demons begin to shed their human forms and attack the humans at the party, leading to a fantastic orgy of blood and guts. Ryo, however, gets surrounded by the demons, and just as Akira charges in to rescue him, he becomes possessed by a powerful demon named Amon. Now merged with a strong demon, Akira, who is now Devilman, quickly dispatches of all the demons in the club, rescuing Ryo in the process. But unlike most people possessed by demons, Akira has maintained his human heart and is able to use his newfound abilities at will. And this begins Akira and Ryo's mission to reveal the existence of demons to the world and vanquish them from the earth. And that is the Devilman Crybaby synopsis in a nutshell. Of course, it goes far beyond that, but that's just a quick summary of what we're going to get with Devilman. So next, let's talk about some of these characters, shall we? First, we have Akira Fudo. So Akira is the primary protagonist of DMC, if you will. If you're wondering why they added the Crybaby at the end of the title, it's because Akira has a tendency to break down in tears whenever he is stressed or hurt over something. But he starts off the same way you would guess a lot of anime protagonists does, with the whole shy and awkward but friendly Boy Scout do-gooder thing going on. So there's no surprise there. But after he merges with the demon Amon, he undergoes a radical transformation in both body and behavior. He becomes taller, more muscular, stronger, and faster. But he also becomes a lot more aggressive and bold. Like, there's a part where he starts watching porn on the big screen in the school auditorium. Girls start to notice him and he becomes a standout in the track and field competitions. That aspect of his transformation is pretty entertaining, to see him go from a pussy basically to a badass overnight. But despite these changes, he retains his human heart, so is able to use these powers for good, even though they still manage to disrupt his social life quite a bit. As far as his actual powers, I felt like that part was kind of lacking, because he really is just a straightforward brawler when he transforms. He just tears through everything that gets in his way. Sometimes he flies, but until the end, you don't really see much variance when it comes to him utilizing his demonic powers. I wouldn't say he's a very unique or interesting character outside of how his powers change him to the point of affecting his everyday life, because you don't see that a lot. But there is a point much later in the story where for a second he does break from the mold of the typical anime protagonist, and I always appreciate that. So next we have Ryo Asuka. So Ryo is actually a good friend of Akira from back when they were kids. Despite him being very young, he is very wealthy and influential in the world, and seems to be able to always pull the right strings to get what he desires or to make things happen. He's very mysterious in how he always seems to have a scheme going that's much greater than what he ever lets Akira in on. Like when Akira becomes possessed by Amon, it's clear that Ryo was putting everyone in position for that to happen, but then you have to wonder why and how. Even though he does seem to have a legitimate friendship with Akira and a goal to expose the demons, his methods to achieve his aims reveal him to be an absolutely cold-blooded, heartless person. For instance, the way he was killing the innocent people in the club just to arouse the demons, or there's one part where he killed an old lady just to cover up any potential loose ends. This ruthless part of his character repeatedly puts him at odds with Akira, who is of course a Boy Scout at heart, who only wants to kill the demons to protect the humans, not dispose of humans at the slightest inconvenience. What makes Ryo kind of interesting is that he really is such a blatantly evil character, but it's hard to completely side against him because him and Akira do have similar goals. But I would say Ryo is probably the most well-written piece of this anime. Now we have Miki Makimura. Miki is the girl that Akira lives with and has a bit of a crush on. So Akira's parents travel abroad, and they leave him in the care of Miki's parents. Miki herself is one of the most popular girls in the school, being very pretty, friendly, confident, and the best runner on their track and field team. The girls want to be her and the guys want to fuck her. Initially, you can tell that she is somewhat protective of Akira and sees him as a little brother, but this dynamic gets flipped on his head once Akira becomes Devilman, which seems to really bring his feelings or sexual attraction towards her to the surface. But it always looks as if he is wrestling with that part of himself out of respect for Miki. I'm not exactly sure how she feels about him at times, but you can tell there's some subtle sexual tension going on there. I didn't really appreciate her significance as a character until towards the end, but in a way, Miki is like a representation of the best humanity has to offer, or the ideal of what you want to protect in humanity. Almost everyone else seems corrupted or flawed in some way, which is okay, but Miki is like an angel in mortal form, and I'll explain what I mean later. So now we have Miki Kuroda, or Miki 2, or Miko. So this is the lesser Miki, just with much bigger breasts. She has some big ass titties. But Kuroda is another one of Akira's and Miki's schoolmates, and she is also a runner. Despite her best efforts, however, Kuroda is unable to best Miki in running and hates being inferior to her, which leads to her becoming incredibly jealous and distant. To make matters worse, everyone calls her Miko instead of Miki, which to her is a sign that everyone sees the other Miki as the better Miki, since they actually call her by her given name. At some point in the story, however, Miko merges with a demon and gains powers similar to Akira, which allows her to gain the recognition she desires while also drastically changing her behavior, of course. But I actually like Miko. Like, yeah, she's sexy as fuck with the melons, but she does have a bit more depth to her. More depth than Miki, I would even say, because of her flaws. Next, we have Serene. Serene is a powerful demon that had a sexual relationship with Amon, the demon that possessed Akira before he came to the human realm. Knowing that Amon has possessed Akira, she stalks him so she can get her fuck fix. And that's basically her whole story. You know, I thought that she would have a more significant role in the story because they were building up to her encounter with Akira. And it led to a good battle and whatnot. But the way it turned out to be somewhat one-dimensional with her trying to get some dick was kind of silly. But there is an important moment that occurs during that battle that becomes a key theme towards the end. And it's whether or not demons can experience love. Because Serene desperately wanted Amon, but Serene's henchman was jealous and wanted her for himself. So it was a bit of a demonic love triangle going there. But she is one of the more significant demons that Akira ends up having to battle. Now we have the rappers. Just a quick honorable mention for this rap collective in the anime. There's a rapper in real life named Ken the 390. He's a Japanese rapper. And I've actually been listening to one of his songs for years called Turn Up. He has a small role in his anime as one of the rappers in his group of like sort of delinquents. And it's funny because when I heard him, I recognized his voice, but I wasn't 100% sure. But anyway, they are this small gang and they go around rapping, and Ken plays Wamu, who ends up befriending Miko and whatnot. But I just wanted to mention them because as a rapper myself, I liked how they incorporated hip hop not only into the music, but the characters themselves. So those were, in my opinion, like the most important characters. You don't really have like a lot of like super important characters. It's a relatively short anime, and it's really more of a character piece about Akira and Ryo more than anything else, and also just humanity as a whole and its reactions to the demons and whatnot. So next we're going to get into the good and the bad, and some spoilers too, so stay tuned. All right, so first we have the good. So this anime is super violent and super sexual. So you guys know I love horror movies and I love pornography. So this is right up my alley. This anime is very brutal. I mean, they don't pan away from any of the violence, any of the death, the killing, the fighting, the murder, and there are so many scenes of people just dying in the most horrific ways, being torn to shreds by demons, people killing each other, shooting each other, beating each other, stabbing each other. There's a lot of violence in it, and it's just about what you would expect because this is an anime that's based on, you know, an old school anime before they started kind of censoring themselves more. And I always appreciate that because it's kind of, I'm not gonna say it's rare, but it's kind of uncommon to see this level of violence in a anime. And to kind of, I guess, to put it as one of the good aspects of it, some people might not necessarily agree with that, but I think for me it's just because of what my personal tastes are and how it's just kind of, it's a little refreshing to see this level of extreme violence in an anime. You know, violence isn't necessarily unusual, but this this shit. But I would say, even though it's good, it's as goofy as it is brutal. And I think that, and like, not to kind of be like too nitpicky here, but I think that the anime has some flaws that make it such that some of the violence comes across as being silly as opposed to as serious as it should be, because I don't think the anime really takes itself 100% seriously, like it probably should have. And there's just so much tragedy. Like, there's so many significant deaths throughout the course of this short anime, and people really just dying left and right. And it's just like, you never quite feel too comfortable with anybody being immune from being taken out. But that was definitely one of the better aspects. But also, like, how sexual it was. there's a lot of sex in this anime. Even in the first episode when Rio and Akira go to the club Sabbath, I mean, it's basically a fucking orgy. You have people in there having sex. You see gay people, lesbians, and orgies and fucking. And then like, there's one part where a guy is fucking a girl, and the girl transforms into a demon and then kills the guy. So right there, you have the violence and the sex all wrapped into one. And again, when you're talking about the average anime, you might have like some ichi, right? Like little goofy shit, like, oh, Master Roshi saw the big boobs and now he has a nosebleed. But this, I mean, you got straight fucking and fucking and sucking and but it covers like a broad range of sexual themes as well, you know, because like there's love, but there's also lust. There's masturbation, there's sex, there's gay characters, there's straight characters. So on one hand, like you have the debauchery side of sex. You have the orgies, like there's a scene where there's an attempted rape, there's porn, there's perversion, there's lust. But you also have things like love and genuine affection, mourning for dead lovers, innocent crushes, and things like that. And, you know, to be honest, it's not like the art style made it so these sex scenes were fappable, other than Miko's big ass titties, but they still added something of value to the overall product in terms of how varied, real, and raw they were with portraying sexuality. Like, I felt like they did with sexuality what they did with the violence. They took it to the extreme and showed both the good and bad. Like, with violence, you can protect and you can destroy. With sex, you have love and you also have lust. And I think these were just some of the finer aspects of the anime. Not just for the gratuitousness of it, but in particular with the sex, how you see kind of both shades, or you see like both sides of it. Also, the ending. The ending is also one of the better parts of the anime, and we'll get to that when we get to the spoiler zone, the new segment of the anime review show, but we'll talk about that later. So let's talk about the bad now. And this is very bad. This is very bad. So the anime becomes very dull or meh in the middle. I would say between episodes 4 and 8. I would say the first 3 episodes, I wouldn't say I was just hooked. Like, whoa, like I'm into it. But I was rolling with it because it was different. Again, the violence and the sex, like it was just so edgy. I love edgy shit. So I was into it. But it really failed to hook me and make me give a fuck about its characters initially. And by the middle, and when you say like, again, I'm saying 4 through 8, I would say that's when it kind of hit a plateau and then started to decline and then it jumped at the end. But, you know, when you talk about a 10 episode anime and I have to say like 5 of them, you're not even super invested. Like that's half of it not being as good as it really should be. And I just think that they probably could have took it into a better direction. It just feels like it kind of flounders during that period. Like things are going on, but I think they failed to really capitalize on what they had. And I remember like by the end of episode 6 or 7, I was like, yo, this anime is stupid. Like I was at the point where I was like, I really don't like this shit. And it wasn't until the end where it managed to sort of save itself from me, you know, giving it a completely terrible score. But we'll talk more about that later. But also and this kind of ties into it, but there's a lot of untapped potential with this anime. Right, and those are pretty much the bad things. But let's go into the spoilers before we give it the score. So this is now the spoiler zone. So I'm going to properly label and timestamp this zone or this part of my reviews. So for this portion, and you'll see it timestamped, for this portion, I'm going to be talking about significant spoilers in the anime. So you've been warned. So, spoiler alert, everybody dies. So, what ends up happening is that Rio is revealed to be Satan. And so all this time, his manipulation and controlling the courses of events was based on his instinct as Satan. Now I don't believe he was completely aware of himself being Satan. Like, he was coming into awareness. Like, he always knew he was different, and he was kind of like instinctually doing these things, not fully understanding what he was doing. But at some point in the story, he realizes that he's Satan. And so Satan's goal, and you guys should know his role in the Bible, you know, he's the exiled angel that rebelled against God. And this anime, he rebelled against God and lost. And so years ago, many years ago, he fled to planet Earth to sort of hide from God. And he found the demons. The demons had ruled the earth. And so he loved the demons because they were just so brutal. It was all about survival of the fittest. But when God found Satan, he destroyed the earth. And so the way it's told is that, you know how we have the dinosaurs and then they were wiped out and then mankind came. In this anime, is basically saying that what we thought were the dinosaurs were actually demons, and that God wiped them out and then we emerged. But some of the demons or dinosaurs actually survive, and they've been surviving in secret for many years. And so when God destroyed the earth, Satan was injured so badly that he sort of went into, I wouldn't say hiding, but he basically had to be like reincarnated. And so Rio was like the reincarnation of Satan. And it wasn't until like the end of the story where he realized this, that everything he was doing was for the goal of getting humanity to destroy themselves so that the demons could retake the earth. And so basically from episode 9 to 10, all the main characters end up getting killed. Like Miko and Miki in particular. You know, Miki is Akira's love interest. Like that's his main squeeze. And so I'm watching this anime, and so there's a part where basically Akira is fighting another powerful demon, because there's all this chaos in the world because the demons have been revealed to the humans, and humans have become highly suspicious of each other. And so it's absolute madness. The humans don't know who to trust. Demons are killing, humans are killing demons, humans are killing humans, demons are killing, right? And Akira's fighting this battle, and Miko, and the rappers, like, they're trying to survive as they're being hunted down. And so they're all getting killed one by one, and Miki is the last one. And so there's a part where Miki is like running away from the attackers, and Akira is running to come save her. Like, you see him, like, he's on the way. And remember, at this point, I'm just like, okay, like, I'm checked out. Kinda. Like, I'm kind of checked out, because I'm thinking, oh, he's gonna save her right in the nick of time. And then, you know, typical anime moment, right? He comes in the last second. But no, she ends up getting murdered. She gets stabbed to death right then and there. And the people who attack them, like, they cut them up, they behead them, they set them on fire, and then they just basically party with their body parts. So it's this very tragic, brutal moment where all of Akira's friends are now dead. And Akira, when he realizes that, he just completely snaps, and he kills all the humans who killed, you know, his friends, and in particular Miki. And I like that part forward was when I started to really appreciate Devilman and where it was going, because I didn't expect that. And not only that, I didn't really appreciate the value of Miki's character until that point. Like, they were really building her up to be, like, again, like I said earlier, the ideal of what humanity should be. Like, she's almost like this perfect girl, and then to see her get killed so brutally, it had an effect on me. Like, it basically it worked. And I was like, God. And from there, it was on. And so Miki gets killed, all his friends get killed. And by this point, Akira has realized that Rio is actually Satan. And so he confronts Rio, and Rio wants Akira to join him. But of course, Akira isn't going to join fucking Satan, who is actively trying to destroy humanity. And so he basically tells Rio, like, yo, it's on. Like, next time I see you, it's on. And they part ways. And so this begins like I don't know how long it takes. I think it probably takes years. But this begins like a long war between the humans and the demons. The humans are kind of being led by Devilman. And he has other Devilmen backing him. So there are a lot of humans around the world that manage to retain their human heart after being merged with a demon. And so Devilman, he recruits all the Devilmen of the world. And of course, the humanity, they're fighting the demons as well. And so it's this big war that takes years. And this war is so destructive because we're talking nuclear bombs and armies fighting and all that. It's so destructive that it culminates to humanity being whittled down to like this last stand. So like basically all the demons, like damn near all the demons are dead, and damn near all the humans are dead. Like it's come to this point where almost everybody is dead, demons and humans. And so it comes down to Devilman versus Satan, basically, or Rio. And so Devilman and Rio have this big battle where, they're like, their punches and their kicks and their powers are just so strong that it's fucking causing earthquakes and destroying shit. Kind of like the end of Gurren Lagann. Like, it's just like, it's so over the top. But in the end, Rio ends up killing Akira. He ends up killing Devilman. He's fucking Satan. And so Rio is laying with Akira at this point. And he doesn't realize he killed Akira. I guess he thought like he just beat him, but Akira was actually dead. And so he's kind of reminiscing over their past and their friendship. Then he realizes that Akira died. And then he begins to mourn for Akira. And so essentially the ending of Devilman is that everybody dies except Satan. So it's a tragic, nihilistic, bad ending of sorts. And right as Satan or Rio is mourning for Akira, God puts the finishing touches on destroying the earth. And so at the very end, what you see is a new earth, but now the earth has 2 moons. And so what they're telling you is that the moon of the original Earth, or the Earth in this anime, was actually the previous Earth. And that the Earth that is destroyed, the humanity, everything that is destroyed in this anime, in this story, becomes the new moon for the new Earth. So now you see Earth, but it has 2 moons. So it's showing you that this is a cycle that continues to happen. Satan occupies a planet that is inhabited by creatures, and then those creatures end up being replaced by humans, and then Satan tries to destroy the humans, everything is destroyed, and then God creates a new planet, a new Earth, and it all happens again. Right, so assuming that the first planet didn't have a moon, the second one had a moon, which was the destroyed first planet, and this new planet has 2 moons because they're the destroyed 2 planets. So it's a everybody and everything dies except assuming Satan ending, assuming he's gonna come back after God destroyed the earth with him on it. But what really makes this ending well crafted to me is that there is the significance of Rio mourning over Akira's death. Because throughout the anime, Rio, or Satan, is showed to be like very cold-blooded and uncaring for anyone other than Akira. Like, he basically hates humanity. And he doesn't care about using people, deceiving people, killing people to get ahead. Like, he's just cold-blooded. Doesn't give a fuck. But in Akira, he has somebody that he cares about. And you see them sort of lay out these hints throughout the anime. It's like from when they were kids to now, and how they react to different situations and their motivations and what they're willing to do to accomplish their goals are just black and white different. Like even going back to one of the older scenes, like when they were kids, Akira found a dying cat and he wanted to try to save him. Rio wanted to just kill him and and end it, put him out of his misery. And right there kind of just shows like the difference, right? The heartlessness of Rio and Akira wanting to save life. But the point is, there's a significance to Satan mourning over Akira. Because you have to wonder, now that Satan understands love, he felt love for the first time. He felt love for a human being. He felt love for another. How is that going to change him moving into the future? If he appears on this new earth, now that he has experienced love, is that going to make him good? Is that going to make him try to protect humanity? Like, is this all sort of like a silver lining towards Satan changing his ideas and how he deals with other life that he encounters in the universe? Again, we'll never know, but I think it's so well crafted because it's the most tragic ending you can think of. Again, everybody fucking dies, the earth is destroyed, and we get a new earth, right? But our shit is fucked up. And then, Satan is the last man standing. Well, other than God, who fucks him in the ass, but right. But Satan is basically the last man standing. But the last hope is the idea that his love for Akira would change him going into the future. And like I said, man, like that saved the anime for me because I was done by episode 7 and 8. The very end of episode 8 was when I knew, whoa, like that's when it hooked me. I was like, oh, what the fuck is that? And then it just went crazy. It was just, but this anime could have been so much better. And I'm just going to go ahead and tell you guys, like, I rate this anime a 6 out of 10. I would have gave it a 5 if not for that ending. And 5 to me is like, man, it would have just been meh to me. But the ending saved it. But this anime could have been so much better. And let me just real quick just try to explain like what I'm saying. One, this anime should have been at least 24, 26 episodes. It should have been a 24 or 26 episode. Because when you have an ending like that, now it already had an impact on me. And I looked at, how people, you read the Wikipedia and how people responded to the anime coming out and whatnot. And like, it was an impactful ending, right? But think of how much more impactful it would have been if they really took more time to properly build up to it. Because it's so short, you don't really have a lot of time to properly establish the characters or as many characters as you could. Remember, going back to me explaining the characters or going over the character, I couldn't really name that many that were super important. Even some of the ones that I named, like the rappers and whatnot, they weren't like crazy important. It was just, they were characters that were there and they did things. But still, had it been longer, I think it would have given them the opportunity to take more time to flesh out the characters and get the viewer more invested. The fact that I had to reach the point of I don't like this anime, and then they snapped into like what it really was gonna be, that's not good. It should have been, oh, this is great, I like this, and then oh my god. And also get rid of that art style. Like, I don't give a fuck, bro. Like, these weirdo art styles, I'm not with it. Like, you don't, like, you can spice it up. You can have like something unique, but I really just don't like the art style. I'm just not a fan of it. Change the art style like that too. Just go for a more like normal standard art style that you would see in modern anime. But this shit, nah, it was not kicking for me. But and look, this might sound crazy too, but follow me. Keep the violence and the sex, but go with a more traditional shonen formula. And what I mean is, you guys know with shonen, like the last shonen I watched was Demon Slayer. And with Demon Slayer, you have, you got your protagonist. He goes through a tragedy. He decides to try to save the world, has a training arc, gets powers, sets off on a journey, gains allies, defeats enemies, whatnot. Going into this show, I kind of expected it to be kind of like a Monster of the Week type of show. Like, that's what I always thought Devilman was. But it really isn't. Not quite the way I thought it was. And so what I'm saying is, imagine if this anime had a more traditional show, went with a more traditional shonen formula, where every like 3, 4, 5 episodes, there's another significant demon that shows up that acts as a choke point or a big challenge for Akira. And in order to overcome that challenge, he has to like grow as a fighter, as a Devilman, and he's gaining new powers. Like, again, these are the shit that didn't happen. Like, he wasn't like getting new interesting power, like cool powers and stuff. Like, he was just Devilman and fighting demons. But like every 3 or 4 or 5 episodes, like there's another powerful demon and a theme surrounding that demon. There's build up all the way up to a climax, right? And then also you see Akira gaining new allies and things like that. And again, these things sort of happen, but within 10 episodes, you can't do it the right way. You can't do it like really take your time to where, oh, I really like this, like, right? Like, it's like Miko becomes a Devilman, but you don't really have a lot of time to become too attached to her. There's another character that becomes a Devilman, but again, you don't have a lot of time. So it sort of happens, but it doesn't happen the right way. And then you have that Monster of the Week, kind of like with Serene, but again, it's like, she should have been like the first of like 4 or 5 throughout a 24, 26 episode period is what I'm saying. Like, they had it, but it wasn't long enough to really do it the right way. And I think had they gone with a more traditional shonen formula, again, keep the violence, the sex, keep the edginess, but do the Monster of the Week thing. And, oh, he's getting new allies, and they're developing a bond with each other, and they're growing together and whatnot, and having these adventures. And then by episode 20, 21, 22, have the big reveal, oh, Rio is Satan. And see, this is what I'm saying too. In the last episode, you have the big war between the humans and the demons that leads to the destruction of humanity and the demons, right? That by itself could have been 4 episodes. Like, that right there could have been broken down into 4 episodes. Like, imagine Akira, he has his team of Devilmen that you've learned to love and grow attached to, and they're dying one by one during this big battle. Think about, like, dude, this anime has so much potential. Like, that's the fucked up thing about it. I'm looking at it like, yo, this ending is legitimately good and well crafted, but they built up to it in the worst kind of way. If they went with a more solid, reliable formula and made it longer, it would have been so much better, because the impact would have been so much more significant. Because remember, I'm at the point where I'm not liking it, and then boom, I'm into it. Now imagine if I liked it. Imagine if I really gave a fuck about the characters, was really attached to the characters, and the whoa. But that's basically the spoiler, the big spoiler of Devilman. But I gotta say, I had no idea it ended that way, and it's rather interesting when you think about it. It's the anime with a very, tragic, bleak ending, with just a very small glimmer of hope at the very end. Just very small. But let's get to the score. So I will give the action a 3 out of 5. There's a lot of violence, there's a lot of action, a lot of blood and guts and gore. I mean, and it gets really crazy towards the end. Now, I give it a 3 mostly because of just the intensity of the violence. I think what's really lacking in this is well choreographed battles between like Devilman and the other demons. There aren't a lot of, again, just 10 episodes, that's one thing, but there aren't a lot of battles where I'd be like, yeah, I want to watch that again. That was a cool battle. The coolest battle was at the end. And like, okay, the beginning and the end, I put it like that. Like, those were the coolest one. But everything in between for me, as far as like the Devilman battles, weren't that impressive. But I give it a 3, mostly for the intensity of the violence. The plot, I give it a 2.5 out of 5. The ending was great. And I think it started off okay, but the way it really just becomes so mediocre in the middle, I can't give it too much. Cause it really stands on the end. Without the ending is not really much as far as like a plot, in my opinion. Animation, I give it a 1.5 out of 5. Personally, I just hate this art style. I hate goofy art styles in anime. I'd rather see like a generic art style than some shit like this. Like, it's not. I just don't like it. I just don't like it. I just gotta say, I just don't like it. The music is actually pretty good. I'll give the music a 3 out of 5. Comedy, I give a 2 out of 5 because it's not. It doesn't have like that sort of shonen hijinks or shit like that. Because it's not a fucking shonen, but I don't think it is. This ain't considered a show, but whatever. But it's funny at times, but I think what makes it funny is kind of unintentional. Like when I said the violence can be goofy, is that kind of comedy, where it's like just the people dying in the most ridiculous of ways all of a sudden. And yeah, it's kind of unintentionally funny. Ichi, a 4 out of 5. There's a lot of fucking. There's a lot of fucking. There's a lot of sex. There's nudity. Yeah, like so. Yeah, this is Ichi up. I can't give it a 5 because the art style makes it so the Ichi isn't really that great to look at because it's ugly, to be honest. But there is a lot of Ichi. So overall, I give Devilman Crybaby a 6 out of 10. It would have got a 5. Or maybe even a 4 without that ending. But the ending sort of saved it from getting a really bad score. But I can only give it a 6 because the fact that the beginning was just okay and the middle was dull and mediocre to me and it kind of just jumped to a whole another level at the end. You know, I can't really give too high of a score for that. So I give it a 6 out of 10. Wouldn't really recommend. But I will say this. I am interested in going and at least reading the original manga. So I will give it that. It has made me interested in going and reading the original manga, which I hope to do it sometimes. I hope you guys enjoyed that. And I will see you in the next anime review. So, Johnny.